Welcome everybody to Telo Cuento News in English. My name is Majo Maria, and I am here in this space that is with accents, flavors, and integration. We continue to check these Latinas that are making out the park in Kansas and Missouri. Today, Alexandra Johnson with us, but first, let's do our intro. Now, yes, welcome Alexandra Johnson with us. Today we go to St. Louis, Missouri. She's a lawyer, and she is one of these Latinas that has been involved for years in different activities in our community, and we want to recognize her in this month. Welcome, Alex.
Hi.
So let's start for that, Ale. How do you decide to be so involved in the community in St. Louis?
Well, truthfully, I can thank my parents for that. I was raised in a public service environment. And I mean service to the public. It was a very religious environment, and in fact, you may recall that actually I published a book, and this is an anthology of wonderful Latina women. And my chapter discussed some of the trauma that I experienced and how I overcame that. So I do have a little bit of a mixed legacy in that regard, but my parents and I did a lot of healing work, and I have a great deal of love and affection for them. And I would just say that they taught me and modeled, really, they lived their own life according to their principles. And by and large, those were very positive principles to live by.
You are a lawyer, you are a Latina, and you all the time need to break in barriers, all the time breaking barriers. How do you
Yes.
feel is this process for a Latina in Missouri, in St. Louis? How you dealing with these breaking barriers? Maybe be in many rooms where you are the only woman and they're
Mhm.
also Latina.
Yes. Well, yes, in many ways, I've been the first Latina to do that and the first Latina to do the other things. Um, it feels mostly like a both awesome and terrible responsibility, because uh, it might be something that I'm interested in personally or professionally, but it's for me as an individual, and I can never really think of it being just something I'm doing as an individual because I'm always representing our community. And so if I make any mistakes, um, you know, sometimes you just have to push through in life and say, hey, I've got to live my own life. And it's my life. And if I don't live it, who will? But at the same time, I've often not done that and not lived my life exactly um, as freely as I would have wanted because of that awesome responsibility. That said, I'd like to think that I have represented our community well in the sense that I do. I am a bit of an overachiever, and so when I push through those ceilings and push into those spaces, I do represent the community as well as I can, as best as I can. The other thing is, I really try to make sure and open the door for others. So if I'm in a space that is, you know, does not have a lot of people that look like me or a lot of people that are African American, or even in our community, that don't speak English, that have accents, and look more Latina than me. So, in environments like that, I really try to make sure and say the names, mention books that local professors have written, and open the door for others. I'm talking about my book, but the book that I'm in. But of course, the authors are amazing, and anybody interested in local Latino women, should take a look at this list and the amazing accomplishments that they can all list in their resume. So that's the thing. Representing the community as best you can. It is an awesome and terrible responsibility. And then, secondly, opening the door as wide as I possibly can for others.
You talked me before, because we do English and Spanish, about the importance of being a mom for you. I wanted you to
Yes.
talk about that.
Okay. Well, your questions are were a little bit different here in English and in Spanish, but you had asked me what I like to do outside of being a lawyer and what's personally important to me, and I can say it in every language that I speak. I also speak German and French. Being a mom is really my most important job in life. I'm not saying I'd like to think, again, I do it as best I can. I'm as good a parent as I can be, but of course, we're all human and flawed. But it's just everything. We play games. It's entertaining for me to spend time with my kids. And they're a little bit older now, but even when they were babies and as they have grown into younger children and now youth, it's really interesting to hear what their thoughts are. If they hear something on the news, I wish that the news were better, but if sometimes it filters through into their world, I like to hear what they have to think, what their perspective is on the world today. Um, so yeah, being a
So
mom.
I want to asking on you the same I did in Spanish. Where you
Mm.
want to be in 10 years?
Where do I want to be in 10 years? Yes, well, and I was just teasing about that question. So I hope that didn't come across in any negative way. Really, I'm currently an estate planning attorney, and I do some probate. But where I'd like to be is in mediation, more mediation for families that are going through the process, maybe because the estate planning wasn't done or it wasn't done properly. Um, and a family is caught really in kind of a storm, right? They're going through this, and I hate to see families. Latino culture, families are very important, but I hate to see families get torn apart just because of this stuff. And so often it's not even that much money, or it's not even that much, it's like a couple of cars, and it's just not worth losing the family. And real fault lines can develop with how you handle it. So if you can guide the family through the storm of dividing these things up, of kind of managing the feelings. I didn't say this in Spanish, but managing the feelings that come up as you're going through that process, as everybody goes through this process. It is these feelings. I tell you, I feel, I observe them in family after family after family. Articles are written about it. It is very common to have a lot of big, difficult feelings when you're going through this process. And so I'd really like in 10 years for that to be my primary practice. And I'd like to, start that shift sooner than later.
Well, we hope you do that. The last and not less important, I know that our English version is for our American friends, but also for other migrants that doesn't speak Spanish, and that they will relate to this space that we are creating here. What do you
Mm.
tell to these women that today they feel lonely? They feel that even in the middle of the country, they don't feel they are in the right place.
Hmm. Yes. Well, I mean, for starters, we have to all realize that we are not actually alone. And I know that it feels that way to many of us and many times, but we're not alone. Just the number of people that say, I feel alone, tells us that we're not alone. Like there's so many of us that experience those feelings. So the first thing is to realize you're not alone. And the second thing is to connect, to really build community, especially right now where our community is having, really our nation and the world are having such a difficult time with everything going on. find ways to connect. If it's social media, that's fine. If it's texting, maybe you get together, every Sunday at 1 o'clock, you check in and you're like, hey, is everything okay? Are you doing all right? Listen, I've got somebody coming. They're going to bring me groceries. Can I get you anything? It might just be a couple of people on your block or very close to where you live. It might be a larger Facebook group if you feel comfortable doing that, or other social media. So, really just connect in real life. I think it's good to connect with people online all the time, but it's also, even if you're connecting via text or remotely, but really connect with people around you so that you can continue to build community. Part of the agenda is to break communities so that we cannot help each other, so that we don't have bonds that comfort each other anymore. So fight that, build the community so that we can all come out of this together.
Well, thank you, Alexandra, for being with us, and thank you, everybody.
Yes, wonderful.